It's not just about how hard you work, it's who you work for. Central Pacific Bank works for you.
We had an earlier testing of corn and sorghum, different varieties of sorghum, and we felt this is the one that had the greatest potential, so we advanced it to a 140-acre trial. The neat thing about sorghum is that it ratoons. In other words, after planting and harvest, it'll regrow by itself. So this is the second cut. And in our earlier test, we already have cut it 4 times. And it's holding the yield. In fact, it's actually increasing in yield, which is really good news. The advantage is, going from a 2-year crop with sugarcane, we're coming to one that you have to harvest every 3 months. So if you had to plow and plant that, that'll be very difficult. So this, we just harvest and we turn on the irrigation and it will regrow.
So each of the crops and projects that we're looking at with the Diversified Ag Project all have different timelines, obviously. Some of these are very early on in the research and development. A lot of the crops that we're looking at for bioenergy production, as an example, really haven't been grown in Hawaii in large acreages. They may have been grown in the past in very small quantities. We're talking about growing these on much, much larger acres, and so that research and development may take time. May take a few years. In other projects, things like the grass-finished livestock, the irrigated grass-finished livestock project that we're looking at, it's possible that could be a much shorter timeline, within the next year, at least for some expansion. So each of the projects is definitely at a kind of a different timeline. One of the other projects we're working on with the county is to look at an additional ag park or expansion of the current ag park. That could be on a much shorter timeline. Once the infrastructure is ready, potentially we could have farmers on the land within a year or less. And so that, those are the kind of the different timelines that we have for the different major projects that we're working on.
The other thing about it is that it seems to have a lot less pests and less dependent on day length. So while this is sensitive, we seem to be able to it's not as bad. The yield does drop, but not as much as these other crops. Over here, we had cover crops growing. And we're looking at cover crops not just to improve the soil health, but also to manage pests. So we had actually quite a bit of ladybird beetles. And the ladybirds actually helped control the aphids when we had an aphid infestation. And we also had, what daikon is, right? Daikon radish. And we're actually looking at it as to replace tractors to till the soil. Because the daikon goes deep and it has a very deep taproot. So it breaks up compaction, it adds organic matter. So a lot of people went, gee, lots of poho takuan. But no, it's meant to add organic matter into the soil. I think this, along with the crop rotation that we're looking at, would work under our conditions, but there's a lot of work to be done. So, we need people to understand and be patient. We're trying.